podcasts over at wildgamesproductions.com and d20radio.com.
Welcome to the Horror Initiative Podcast, the only Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition podcast in superior edition.
Volume 3, Special Insert number 2, DM alongside DM Will this week. For Will.
Yes, hello.
Did I scare you, Will? It's like you scared you there for a minute.
Nah, I'm good. I'm just excited to be on the show today.
Oh, I thought maybe you failed your surprise roll. I don't know. Anyway, we're sitting in today with a special guest, Anna Meyer, who is the creator or the project developer of the maps of Greyhawk Online. And Anna, what's the full name of your project, actually?
Well, I stole the title from the Greyhawk, the Atlas of the Flannies.
Ah, I see that. And tell us how you started upon this project, actually.
Well, I started like so many others, and I'm a first generation gamer. I started 7980 when the first Red Box came out. We started back in Sweden, where I used to live. We started with a Xerox copy of the original rules, that small pamphlet of things, and one set of dice for the entire group. But it only took like 6 months or something, and then the Red Box had come out here in America, and then we actually sent for one, and we had that and a whole set of dice. And I've played ever since. But we had a very good DM. He was awesome, and he'd made his own adventures and so on. So when I saw the Greyhawk box coming out, I bought it and I read it. And I fell in love with it, and then I wanted to have a map that had as much information as possible. I always dreamt of having that full-blown map I could sit in and when I planned my overland journeys and so on. So it kind of grew from that, but it took until the mid-90s until I had the tools that I could really start it. So my digital mapping project that I'm doing right now, I started that in the late 90s.
Oh, wow. And you started back when you said you just moved from Sweden, so you were doing it there originally then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did. When Bryce, that is 3D landscape software, you can create terrain and stuff, that came out in 96. And so I started working 96, 97 to learn that and use it. And I was really found my style around 2000, and then I found out how I wanted to do the maps, and I got a basic workflow going, and I've kept it up ever since.
So, which program are you using now to make your maps?
I'm using Bryce. It's still it's old software that I'm using to create and render the terrain, and then I'm using Photoshop and CorelDRAW to kind of touch up the terrain, add symbols, heraldry, text, and all that.
Oh, interesting. Will, you have any questions?
Well, no, it's first, thank you for coming. It's great to speak to you.
Definitely.
I am a huge fan of individuals who do this kind of stuff. And I'm surprised that you're using such an older program, because when I looked at it, I said, well, I was thinking you was using like what do they call it, campaign cartographer. I thought you was probably using that. Mm-hmm. Or there was some other, map programs that I actually use to make my maps for overland maps and everything. So for using an older program that you're using, your work is extremely impressive.
Well, thank you. I've tested them all. I have a license for all of Pro Fantasy software, and they're doing great things. And the reason I've stuck with Bryce is more for consistency. Today there is a program that is called View from Eon Software. I'm using that one too, and for my future projects, that is 100 times more powerful than Bryce is. But since I started with it, and I want to keep the same look, so I workflow through this entire project, that's why I'm stuck with the old old Bryce program. But for the campaign cartographer and all the other projects, software from Pro Fantasy, they are great too, and they do great products. But for the kind of map I'm doing, I haven't found anything that works better than Bryce. View will be much better, but the problem is I have to keep the style and the consistency, so it will look the same, so to speak. So that's all my original from software. But I'm glad that I can retire Bryce in probably 6 months or something like that, and then I can use more modern software for my future projects.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to complain about it because I think it's impressive. And as a matter of fact, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a look at this one particular tile, and we're talking about the Empire of Iuz.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly enough, there's White Plume Mountain, and I'm telling you, that's very impressive. I just that's one of my favorite places there in Greyhawk. And I'm just impressed with the detail that you use. I mean, it's just the colors are vivid. It's very, very good. I'm very impressed. I love how you did the water with the water depths. It's just very impressive use of that program. Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with the program, not as much as I used to be, because now, like I said, I use Campaign Cartographer. I use I forgot what the other one is called right now. It's
Hex
they'll
Maps?
come to me in a second. I got dozens of them here.
Is it the Hex Map one?
Yeah, they have.
Well, it's made by IBOS, IBOS, I believe it is.
Oh, I don't know.
There's multiple companies out there, some individual ones and everything, and that's the second one that comes to mind because that one is strictly overland cartography and everything. And I'm just extremely impressed with this program. I'm just like astonished at how well it really turned out after all these years. No, it's very well done.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you. But that's the big problem. You're talking about the colors and the depth of the ocean and stuff. That's what I see the big difficulty when you make maps, especially for role-playing games, is that the map has to be both informational and inspirational, and that is usually a map is either informational. That means that it looks like something out of a GPS map or something for Rand McNally Road Atlas. It just has a lot of information but very little inspiration. Or you can have a map that looks like the wonderful medieval handouts or the things from the Lord of the Rings books or something that looks awesome and stunning and inspirational, but you can't deduct what the terrain really looks like. You can't measure things and so on. And my goal was to try and make something that is as detailed and accurate as Google Earth maps for a fantasy world, but still looks kind of fantasy and have some sort of inspirational thing as well. And that took so long to merge these kind of two very different goals into one map. That was my first big struggle, so to speak, to overcome that. But after 3-4 years, I found a style that I like, and I've got a lot of fans for it. So I want to have both the medieval look and the Google Earth one map.
Oh, wow. And those wondering out there listening right now, you can go to greyhawkmaps.net/start.html to get right to the maps. Jump right in there and go to area maps, and you see an impressive map here with all these numbers on it. And if you click on the number, you can go into the little bits and pieces of the map, and you see a lot of detail and design. You can put it up on JPEG or PDF, whichever one you like. And if you go in there and pick it up, it gives you a big, huge blow-up of the map, if you want, full size. And there's so much details like, oh, wow, I'm so looking at square 35, I believe. Yeah, 35. Yeah. And you could just see the details in the map of the roads and the kingdoms and different symbols of the towns. And there's some, wow, paths here. And do you have a key on the map? Let's see. Yeah.
There's a legend.
Yeah, there's a legend. There's miles on the map, so you can actually probably print this all out and put it on your wall too. I know people like displaying maps on their wall for Greyhawk and for Forgotten Realms and everything.
Actually, you know what? This is really funny, Anna, and this is very similar. Well, I better not say that it's it can't be similar because you're not using Pro Fantasy, but this is almost real similar to the interactive Forgotten Realms Atlas, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I bought that one when it came out and looked at it and I want to have part of it, and I like the function of it, but the style is not kind of inspirational enough. I want to see every mile what the terrain. Like I want to know where the small forests are, the little hills, the little marsh with the trolls in it, and all these kind of small, cute details that give an overland journey. If you travel 500 miles across country, as a DM, I want to be able to tell the players and inspire myself to create interesting encounters and what they see and experience during the road. It's like when you travel in role-playing games in a campaign, a road is only as long as the number of things that happens. So if you travel across the world, you need to have like 500 things happen over 10 play sessions. Then it will feel like a journey across the world. If you just tell the players that you spend a month on horseback going across the plains, the hills, and all that and crosses, that feels like nothing for a character. So that was one of my journeys in this, to have a map, a tool for that kind of adventuring during a campaign.
You know, and that's really funny how you bring this up, because I have a good friend of mine. I know if he owns a gaming store here in town. He has a weekly D&D group, and they're going through Greyhawk. He uses primarily Greyhawk. He will not use Forgotten Realms. He uses Greyhawk. And what he did was, now, you know, the old Greyhawk map folios. There was like, you know, I don't know how many editions were there. You know, they were done in the 80s all the way up for a couple of years. And those maps, and he looked at those maps and he says, you know what, this is so lame. This is just an outer space view of the continent. I want something better. So what he did was, and he took a black pen and he actually, you know, blew up those areas using black pen. And sometime, Vince, I'll have to post those pictures of his work. Yeah, please. He actually hand-drawn, not to the scale that you did here, Anna, but something similar to it. He with a black pen and hand-drawn it and put all the lettering, all the roads, all the rivers and everything. It did a very exceptional job on it. And pretty much said, this is the way I want people to visualize when they travel. And that's what inspired him. It's just the detail, the view. You can see a tree instead of a road, or a word that says forest of pigs with orc faces. Now you have a whole forest with a bunch of trees there, with the river meandering through it, with a road, you know, bordering it. So yes, excellent.
It's a scary forest, Will. Thank you.
Yep.
And it was just a joke, because everyone makes fun of me when I say pigs with orc faces, because there was a big debate on whether orcs have those kind of faces.
You're still saying it
backwards.
Remember
the Monster Manual one, it actually is an orc that looks like a pig in some sort of armor, and it's really silly, but... So,
yeah, but see, I call it pigs. So instead of saying orcs with pig faces, I say pigs with orc faces.
Yeah, he keeps saying it backwards. Anyway, so what could the community do to help you with your research or your maps? Because if someone wanted to step up and help you, what can they do?
The research primarily, and that amazes most people. They just think that I'm sitting down using Photoshop and software to draw the maps, but actually to make the maps themselves, it's less than half the work. The research probably take about between 50 and 75% of the time, at least, is research. Research is way bigger and undertaking than actually making the maps. So I probably have a doctorate in Greyhawk geography. I probably spent 10,000 hours the past decade to read everything ever published by Greyhawk for the Greyhawk campaign over and over again, and taking notes of everything.
So that must mean including like all the AD&D modules where, you know, where adventures took place, like Against the Giants and of course White Plume Mountain and all those other places.
Yep. Yep, everything. And then there's a lot of things that is contradictory. You have one little detail in one module, and then you have another one from a Dragon magazine that says two different things. Yeah. And then you have a third one in From the Ashes or Faced of some other module later on, so to speak. And then you have the latest big edition is everything from Living Greyhawk campaign. And there's like a couple of hundred modules and small source books. And then you have a lot of very well-written fandom on the internet that people that are as dedicated to Greyhawk as I could ever be, and they have written tons of wonderful articles and fleshed out regions and stuff. So I try to bring that in as well. So I try to really add as much flavor to every part of the continent as possible. And that takes a lot of time. And thankfully, so I've had a large group of other fans that help me with research. But the problem is they often help me afterwards. Huh. It's like if I tell them on my Facebook group and other places, and now I'm going to map a certain realm, a part of it, in a couple of months. So can you please just send me text or ideas or things that I should put in there? I seldom hear a thing. As soon as I put the first version of the map up, I get 50 replies saying, "Oh, that is not there, and that shouldn't be there," etc., etc. Then everybody knows about it. And so I have to go back. So in the beginning, I tried to do as much research as possible, and then I put the map up that I thought was accurate. And then I got all these objections and other very, very good ideas. I love the criticism. I couldn't do any of this without all that criticism, so it's positive. But now I've kind of used that post-critique to my advantage. So now I do a half-research map, put it out there, and then I get the feedback, and then I go back and remake a new version of it.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that people have, an opportunity to criticize your work and everything. And I'm glad that you take that constructive criticism, turn it around to make a better map and everything. And I can see the difficulties you're having. But I am certain that there was stuff out there, and I'll have to look it up here in just a second. So I'm going to leave for just 45 seconds to take a look at something to see if you have this certain book that gives you a full detailed history of Greyhawk. I think you might have it already. There's no doubt you probably have it, but I'll just have to take a look to see if you have it. No, that's right. So where is the Keep of the Borderlands? Where's that at? Do you know which tile that would be at? Would anyone know that?
No, not yet. I have actually. There was like years ago. I read some of it when I did Furiundi and the Empire of Ayus around this Shield lands and stuff, and that was almost 10 years since I did it. And then I didn't have it, but there are at least 2 versions, I think, of the module. I have the somewhere in all my things. I have this. I think it was a 2nd edition thing that came out that was Keep of the Borderlands.
Right. It's a return to the Keep of the Borderlands. Yeah. Yep.
And then, but I don't have. I probably have about 90% of everything that was published for Greyhawk in physical, so to speak. I'm sure that I had the biggest D&D collection in Scandinavia by far, and that, because back in the day I simply bought everything. A couple of years I bought everything that TSR even published, everything, just to be sure. And then I started to be more kind of, when Forgotten Realms grew big, I started to pick what I wanted. So I kind of looked through the TSR catalog, and I was actually co-owner of a game store once. So when we got the upcoming titles for the year, I just crossed everything I wanted and ordered a copy of mine. So I got like a bunch of things every month, and I just put them on the shelf. And a lot of it I didn't read until now. But now I've digitized all that. So I downloaded PDFs and everything and put it into Evernote so I can do a digital search. So if there is a name or something, I can just search and find everything, and then I can just cut and paste everything of one area into one document, and then I have that as my nightly reading. So I read that for like a week or something, and then I go into making the map. So I make notes of everything. So I've tried to make the research much faster, and without the digital tools, this wouldn't be possible, because the amount of information, if you consider the Living Greyhawk campaign and all the great articles of Earth Journal and all the other from Cannon Fire and so on, that is so much that you need to kind of condense it somehow.
Right.
So how far do you see you taking this project to the very... I mean, obviously you're going to take it to the very end. How much more do you think you have left, I should say?
Well, when it comes to doing the Flanese map, I'm probably about 80% done.
Okay.
Between 80 and 90% done. I only have the Sheldamar Valley and then I have the Tilvanot Peninsula with Scarlet Brotherhood. Those are the only main areas that requires a lot of work that I have still to map. And then I have to go back and take all there are some errors. I've kind of filled an error document that I have to go in and fill up and so on. And that will probably keep me occupied another 3 months. Then I've done all the major map work on the Flanders map, so to speak. And then I will take that and several different formats. I will do a large wall map. I will make a sort of atlas thing that you can print into a book, and some other formats. I will probably have an online atlas that you can click on, that you can zoom in and out and stuff like that. That will probably keep me busy for about 6 months.
Interesting.
Yep. But then there is the whole new dimension, because then you have close-up maps, you have city maps, you have location maps, famous locations that hasn't been mapped yet, and a lot of other stuff that is really, really interesting and that has never been mapped, not even in any of the publications before. You have great cities that have a great fame that has never got a map, like Stoink, for instance, in Banny Kingdoms is a city that has been written about in books and modules and so on over years and years, but there had never been a map of them. So there's...
Well, I tell you, I want to see a map of Dragotha's Lair and Thing Gizzard Tut. I always wanted to know about those two places.
Yep. There are several places like that. Then there are places that had maps published in old volumes, and I don't think the maps make any sort of justice. For instance, the Forgotten Temple of Theristun, or Theristun, I don't know how you pronounce it in English.
Yeah, Theristun. Yeah, you said it right, Theristun.
Yeah, and there you have and the Igvil's lair in the Yahtils, and you have several of the famous locations that is only a small dungeon map with like 10 itty-bitty rooms with no details whatsoever. I want to one of my things that I would like to do pet projects is to make these into proper real big locations that has all the details and tons of stuff in it, and make real dungeon maps in full color of these places. That's one of the things I would love to do. Take these places and expand them and update them and include things and really make them place of fame, so to speak.
So what other projects are you working on while you're working on this? Because I know everyone knows you always work on more than one project at once, because that's just human nature.
Yeah. I'm right now. My big thing that I do apart from my Flanese map is I'm starting to work out the style I want to have for city maps and dungeon maps and location, like small location maps, because the Flanese map is huge scale, this continental scale. But when I do maps of a village or a dungeon or some other small place, that requires a completely different approach. And so I'm working on trying to find the style and to kind of keep something that looks cool and then embed as much information in it as possible, so it will be useful maps for DMs and players and so on to really have it. So and I'm also working on a tile system that I can use for this, and so that is. And then I have a couple of commissions and stuff that people want me to do. So I'm sure I will be busy the coming 3 or 4 years with this full time.
And say a fan decided that they liked your work and they wanted to submit something to you for the project, would you accept it and maybe consider using it?
Oh yes, I've got tons of stuff already in my Flanese maps. I have several of the authors of Worth Journal articles and others. They've sent me their stuff, and I've also published some of my maps in Worth Journal. So I made probably half a dozen maps probably around 10 now projects for people to commission things. I did a map for one person that was nothing to do with role-playing games, but he was an avid role player and seen my maps. But he was also a commissioner who broke and sold TV stations. So I had to make a map of the southwestern United States for him that looked really cool, so he can use with all the TV stations in it. So sometimes it kind of spills over into other projects too. But when it comes to role-playing games, there is at least 3 things that I'm discussing right now, and there's some top professional names in the business that is interested in having maps that I'm making. So hopefully I can have this as a part-time to full-time occupation.
Wow. And so let's go through a typical making of the map. How from sitting down to designing the first map to the very end of that first map that you're making, say starting tomorrow, how long would it exactly take you, and what are the steps that you go through?
Well, first is the research,
right?
And I will take example. A lot of people have asked me if I can do the same thing for Forgotten Realms that I've done for Greyhawk, and I've said it's certainly possible. And the first thing to do is to find to gather the research material, and to realize I have everything needed, and then I would sit down and try to figure out what would be the end purpose of this? Is it going to be a wall map? Is it going to be a map that you'll be able to print and put on the game table or use on a computer screen? So you have some sort of semblance. What scale should I do in this? And once you've kind of found what you're going to work towards as the end goal of making it look like, then I have to start thinking about the style of the map. How would the landscape be? Do you want a 3D thing that looks like a satellite photo? Do you want something that is purely medieval with stylized hills and mountains and stuff that way? And then what would the symbols look like and other things? And then make a kind of idea. I want to have these features on the map and they should look that way. And when that is done, then it's time to dig into the research to find as many details as possible, because that way I have to redo things afterwards. That's really important. And research can often take, just to research one kingdom in a place like Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance or something where there's tons of stuff, that might take a month. That might be 400 or 500 hours of reading combined, so to speak. If Forgotten Realms probably have like 2 sources for every realm, and you have to read and scan all these. And that's the huge undertaking. So my advice is, if I'm going to make a map like the Greyhawk map I'm now doing for Forgotten Realms, I would never sit down and do the research, because I can't. I don't know enough of Forgotten Realms. I haven't played in it. I haven't been DMing it for years, because it takes that much skill, because I don't even know where to look. So that way someone else have to do that research, and then I can bombard that person with 200 questions for every kingdom, so to speak. Where are all the cities? How many people live there? Are they fortified? And where are the scary forests and the bogs and all these details? But I can, if I have all these details on a very ugly small sketch, that's usually all it takes, on a napkin or a couple of pieces of paper, and then I can start doing that. So if I have the research, then I can probably turn out a really good map of a kingdom in a week, if I have the proper research. So that is the thing. If people just do the research and put all the details on a very crude sketch and some text, then I can work on it and make a really good map of it.
Yes, you mentioned the Forgotten Realms and everything. I could not even imagine someone taking a project and reducing it to the scale that you're mentioning, because of the vast historical content of the Forgotten Realms itself. Mm-hmm. And in any case, whether it's Kingdoms of Kalimar or Dark Sun or the Scarred Lands or even Greyhawk and everything, all of them have very extensive histories. And the original creator, if they're not around to say, I bless this, you see where I'm coming from, then, it's always going to be up in the air for question. Well, it shouldn't be this, it shouldn't be that, and everything. The Forgotten Realms, you have Ed Greenwood, and As long as you have them around, he said, yeah, it's about 28 miles to that city. Yours is like 21, so you need to increase it 7 more. Yeah, I'm just being facetious now and everything. But, yeah, I just can't imagine, trying to collect all the historical data and which one is canon, which one is not. And if you're going to use, for example, like you said, you brought up Living Greyhawk. And I would simply make a new map or a whole new map just the Living Greyhawk history because it continues to evolve.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there you have a lot of the errors that creeps in over time. The original sources says one thing, and then you have the later editions of the same thing. Is like both Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms. The setting itself has come out twice and 3 times, maybe even 4 times, with new revisions and updated, and a lot of these they contradict early sources, and then another problem that I've found is that the text is often the accurate. Maps are seldom accurate, or they often have errors because when you read the text, then the maps don't match the text, not even in the same book or module. And the reason for this, I think, is that the authors that wrote the text, the writers of the module or book, they knew what they were doing. But the cartography and the maps, they were outsourced to someone who were simply good at using computer graphics so they can make a painting. Often they were not even gamers. They were just artists that did things. They'd never played in the world. They were not sure. So they just put stuff in there, and they were working on a tight time scale and budget, and therefore they just put it in there, and the maps seldom match the text. So in my priority, text always supersedes maps, almost always. I have to have a very good reason to believe the map rather than the text.
Well, now that you bring that up, you're from that region of the world and everything. Did you ever collect a UK series of modules?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have them too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, excuse me. Are those modules and all those maps inputted into the world of Greyhawk?
No, I haven't really, because most of them they've gotten places in Greyhawk. So some of them I put in there, but some of them I haven't. There is like one Alice in Wonderland module, or I think that was part of it. There's some modules, and that's the problem with old Greyhawk stuff, is that it's often things they used for a tournament at a convention somewhere. They had them as modules for a convention, and then since Greyhawk was back then the official setting and sometimes often the only setting, if you go really far back in history, the only setting for D&D, so what they did, they took these modules and they shoehorned them into Greyhawk and changed them a little bit, and therefore they don't belong there. They become famous, but if you read it around and you read about the country where they're placed in, the original description of the country never mentions them. They don't seem to fit the culture and so on. And they're just there, so to speak. And so I place them on the map a lot of times because they're supposed to be there. But some of them I think I've even excluded because they don't seem to fit in there. So, and actually, to be honest, I think that a lot of the old Greyhawk modules, they don't have much quality. I have never played them as they're supposed to be. I used them for backdrops and for kind of inspiration, and then I make something else of it. But the source books, I think, are the strength in Greyhawk. They are fantastic. Like the Marklands, I use the Evil and the Scarlet Brotherhoods. They are fantastic as source books for the setting. But most of the adventures, I don't like them at all.
Okay, great. I think the last question I have for you is, if I was going to start a project like this, like yours, I should say, and I wanted to create my own maps, what advice would you give me to design my own land with my own maps?
First of all, you should sit down and figure out a style of the map and look at other maps and map making, both real world maps and old medieval maps and old city maps, and try to figure out a style of the map you want to have, and take inspiration from everything you see around you, map wise and others, and when you found that style, then you should see if you can create that. And it's not that hard. And then figure out, when you have the style, then in the same way you figure out what software you want to use, and you work out a workflow. For me, I think one of the most important things is to find the style you want for that particular map, and then start out fairly small and until you feel like you mastered the style you want, so to speak. And when you have cranked out one small map of the type you want, then you can kind of bring that out to a lot of different maps, and then you can start using the software more, and then you can work on the style, so to speak. When you look at Rob Lazzaretti's maps or Jonathan Roberts' maps, they are awesome, but you can also see that they're working with often very particular styles. They found a way to work that they like, and then they can crank out beautiful maps using the same style over and over and over again. And I'm trying to do the same thing. I've mastered kind of large overland maps. I know how I want to use that. But if I'm going to do Forgotten Realms, then I have to change probably a lot of the typography, the what the symbology would look like, so it will more reflect that campaign and the traditions and so on in that world.
Awesome. And Will, you said you had one more last question?
Well, I just wanted to bring up that you are on Facebook, mm-hmm. and people can go on Facebook and join the Greyhawk one. What is it called again? What is the title of that Facebook page? Or
I have a Greyhawk Maps by Anna. That's my Facebook page where I present things, and I have my website, but unfortunately my website doesn't look any good right now because I just upgraded it to a modern WordPress site with all the bells and whistles and functions. So I've only got it to the implemented functions of last week. So the graphics and so on will come in a couple of days, or at least within a couple of weeks. I will have a site that also looks appealing. Now it's only working, but it doesn't look much yet. But then I have a Flanese Geographical Society that me and some of the other Greyhawk Facebook friends and people from Cannon Fire, we started that one so we could discuss Greyhawk map making in detail, and we made it to as a secret group. And that was not really because we don't want members, but it was also because sometimes we publish things in that Facebook group that are intellectual property of various role-playing game companies. So we didn't want to spread that around, but we still want to be able to use it for our internal discussions.
That's excellent then. So that'll get hopefully some more attention, and that's just awesome.
Definitely.
Well, I like the maps. I think I'm very glad that I saw this, because my intent now is to get them and put them all on a CD since they are PDF, and I'm gonna try and figure out how I can get them printed out in the best way possible, and then I'm gonna try and do it for a player format, so that I'm not showing them the entire thing. There's so many options that you can do with the maps, and I'm very impressed with your work you did, and really awesome. What's a better word for awesome? Excellent, outstanding,
superb.
phenomenal. I like phenomenal. That's
yeah.
Great job though.
Now, Anna, what if someone?
Thank you so much.
What if someone contacted you and said, "I love the way you do maps. I stink at making maps. Could you make a map for me?" And they're willing to give you some money. Would you do that?
Yes, I've done it probably on at least half a dozen occasions, even for a DM. And what I usually do is I make custom versions of my maps that were some when they Greyhawk game, they changed things in their campaign. The city became a ruin, or they created a new village where they had their characters base, or a stronghold somewhere they want their castle in there. So I created special versions for them that way. And if it's just a small alteration, I will gladly do it for free. And then I have to add that, first of all, my maps are Creative Commons. They're licensed under Creative Commons, meaning that people can download them, use them, share them, change them any way they want, as long as they're not trying to sell them.
Right.
And if they just give me credit, they can do anything privately. They can change them. And the PDF maps, they have a very smart feature that way. They are layered, which means that if you can turn on and off layers, so you can turn off all the text, for instance, so you can do player handouts. You can use them as base for your own maps. And soon when I'm done with all the maps, I will put all the symbols out there in special files. So you can take the terrain and my symbols and you can make your own version of the maps. So I will make it simple for people to put their own versions of Greyhawk out there. They can make own mashup versions of my maps. So that will come, but I'm not the symbols I'm using is still in development, so to speak. I will add and change them until I'm done with all the maps. Then I will put the symbols out there as well.
Excellent, because I know quite a few people who can't make maps, and they're always like, "Oh, how can you tell me there's someone who makes good maps?" So
yeah.
Now, if someone wants, go ahead, Will.
Go ahead, Vince. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if someone wants to contact you or get a hold of you, Anna, how would they do that?
They can go to my website and send me a contact message there, or they can go to my Facebook page and just send me a message there. And my email address is Anna, ANNA, at ghmaps.net.
And that's ghmaps.net, greyhawkmaps.net.
Yep.
Will, you had one last question?
Oh, well, not really a question. Just another comment. I'm just, I was just looking at her, looking at the Facebook page, the Flanders Geographical Society and everything, and I'm just enjoying the comments on there, and I like how the collaboration comes in. It seems very positive. So, no, it's excellent. I think this is all very good, very good.
Thank you.
Well, great. And we appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this, and hopefully some more people will get interested in the project and help you with the research.
Yeah, it was a delight, and I'm so glad that you do a wonderful podcast. So I hope that I can listen to many, many more wonderful editions.
Oh, okay. And you said you will make maps for people?
Yes.
There's a place called the Land of the Pigs with Orc Faces. Maybe you can make one of those.
Oh, jeez.
No, I'm just messing around.
Yeah. But I will make tutorials. Once I'm done with this, I've made a few small tutorials and at what's it called? It's called hang on a second. That it's a most wonderful website. I have to mention that it's not my website. It's the wonderful. It's campaign.
Cartographer?
It's Cartographers Guild.
Oh, yes.
That's the wonderful site. So if you're interested in making maps for your role-playing game, become a member there. They have all the best mappers in the world are members there, and they have tons of tutorials. You can ask questions, and you can see all the cool styles of fantasy mapping or science fiction mapping there is, so to speak, on that site. It's fantastic. There's a couple of thousand members on that one, and it's fantastic. I haven't posted there enough, but I will go back there, and it's fantastic. That one day you can find everything, and hopefully I will be able to make my tutorials into a book or something in the future. I've collected and written down how I've done things, so that will hopefully come out in the future too. So it might help people aspiring map makers.
Now, which place is this?
The cartographersguild.com. Cartographers Guild in one word.
Yeah, it's an amazing site. There's like expert map makers on there, like people that do professionally map making, and you can go in there and ask to critique, and they'll help you build your maps by critiquing your maps. I've seen that place. It's very, very helpful.
Yep.
And everybody's very nice. They don't say, "Oh, well, your map stinks." They'll tell you.
They're not going to say it, but to the mind, they say, "Oh God, this guy stinks."
No, they won't do that. And I've seen maps that looks like a 3-year-old drew it, and they'll say, "Well, maybe you should do this to improve it, or do that." Good start. They don't say bad, negative things there.
No, and critique of your maps, when you're making maps, you need others to help you to make the quality good. So I wouldn't be able to crank out these maps, and especially not this fast, without that's kind of weird saying that it takes over 10 years to do it, but all the critique that I've gotten over the years have made my maps as good as they are. Otherwise, without the community behind me, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Right. Okay, so
That's very flattering to hear too. That's very good. That that, like I said, the gaming community, and as far as Greyhawk is concerned, it's kind of small. Let's be realistic. It is a small community, and it's an older campaign setting. That's the reality of the situation. And hopefully with other people that do the work that you do, and you put so much heart into it and so much love into your creation and everything, that this will attract more people, make it a large community, and then the collaboration, of course, increases, 2, 3, 4, 5-fold. No, that's why we enjoy having people like you around, because you're the ones that, that continue to keep the heart pumping.
Yeah, and thankfully there are new members coming into the Greyhawk community, both on Cannon Fire, that is one of the big hangouts on the internet for Greyhawk freaks and fanatics, and several other places. There's still people getting interested, and actually I think we will, Wizard of the Coast or whoever will have the IP and intellectual property rights of it in the future, will probably come with a new version of Greyhawk in some years to come. It's too good to be left out there for long, and there's so many things being revived in today's role-playing game world with all the new technology and stuff. So I think that we haven't seen the end of any of their game worlds. They will come back again.
I don't think you have to worry too much. They're too interested in Forgotten Realms right now. So.
Oh yeah, it will take years. It will take 3 or 4 years, but then they probably want to have something to complement, or once they've done with most of the things for Forgotten Realms.
Yeah. All right. Well, so you know how to contact you. We know the website ghmaps.net, which is your blog, I see, and then you can go to start.html, which is the actual maps. And I think that's going to do it for this week. We appreciate you coming on the show and telling us all about the maps and how to do it. And I'm sure that many fans will appreciate it, especially one that really requested you come on the show.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very interested. So, you say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Roll for initiative.